not good for Europe, for European culture, that we have that situation. So that's one part of it, shortening the terms of protection. This should, by the way, be pretty uncontroversial, because when you talk about it, everybody agrees that the terms of protection are too long. That is, everybody except legislators when new legislation is being drafted. I mean, I think everybody here in this House more or less would agree that terms are too long, except but this spring there was still an initiative to extend the neighbouring rights from 50 to 95 years, which ended up in 70. That's one part of it. But the other part, the more controversial part, is to bring copyright back to what it was some 20 years ago. That is, to only regulate commercial activity, not to infringe on people's rights to use things non-commercially. If you go back 20 years in time, then everything you could do as a private person or wanted to do as a private person was more or less either perfectly legal or at least nobody ever got prosecuted for it. You could make photocopies from a book, I mean, fine. You could record music from the radio, you could borrow records from a friend and record them. You could record television programs on a VCR, etc. Everything that was within the technological capability of an ordinary person was okay to do. So, I mean, 20 years ago, nobody was interested in copyright among ordinary people. Today, the situation is radically different. Every teenager, every day, breaks copyright in a major way, I would say. The copyright system has never been designed for this. It was designed to be a business-to-business framework. Copyright law is complicated. Copyright lawsuits are quite expensive because the legislation is complicated. I mean, and that was fine, and is fine as long as it's a business-to-business thing. But it is a fact that most teenagers don't have a legal department. So when you try to apply a legislative framework that sort of assumes that everybody has it to these teenagers, you get problems. And we do see problems today. So what we're saying that all non-commercial use, sharing, etc., should be absolutely free. This may sound radical, but in effect it's really only bringing it back to what it was 20 years ago. This would completely legalize file sharing, which is fantastic. I mean, file sharing is one of the truly great things that the internet has brought us. Suddenly, the entire culture of the world is available just one mouse click away. It's the great library of Alexandria 2.0, and you don't even have to go to Egypt to use it. Everybody has that access in his or her own bedroom. That is fantastic. In particular, it's fantastic for I mean, it probably doesn't matter very much for the very top artists. I mean, they get their works distributed anyway. But for European culture, we have lots of member states, lots of languages. European culture tends to be more narrow, so to speak. So it's more long tailish than perhaps American culture is, which is well, has a big language and is being promoted worldwide. So for European culture in particular, saying yes to file sharing, saying yes to this fantastic library would be a great thing. And those are the reforms we're proposing, and we think that would be great for Europe.
What about Antoine's remark that content should be searchable, or Bernd's remark going towards a European system? Does that make sense?
Well, so I certainly agree that works should be searchable. I mean, that's good for everybody. If you got works that are protected under this limited term of protection, it's still a fantastic thing if they're searchable. I mean that's obviously good for the person selling that particular work, if people can find it and then get information as to where they can buy it if they need to buy it. So yeah, that would be great.
What about the second part of the question, the European dimension of that, Bernd's remark? Bernd was pushing for, you know, a pan-European copyright.
Yes, I mean, I agree. It makes sense to have harmonized legislation in this area in Europe. So, and of course, if we do, we are proposing reform of the copyright system, and yes, it makes sense to do it on the European level.
You mentioned, you know, that you were file sharing is a beautiful thing. I'm not sure that everybody is agreeing on the same type of thing. Specifically, I mean, what we've seen with the music industry specifically, that they don't like that too much, I guess.
Well, yes and no. The record industry most certainly don't like it. I mean, that is absolutely true. But if you look at the music industry, that's a good example, because when it comes to file sharing music on a massive scale, we've got 10 years of experience. It was 1999 that Napster came along. So, and of course, there was file sharing before that, but we've got at least 10 years of solid experience. So we don't have to guess what happens with file sharing of music. We can just look at the statistics. And when we look at the statistics, we see that income for the music industry as a whole is more or less constant, or it's increased slightly with a general increase in standard of living. What's happened is that revenues for record sales have dropped by at least 50%. But people are still spending as much on music. And because they're not wasting their money on pieces of plastic, where almost all the money goes to the record companies, they can instead afford to go and listen to live music. And we do see that from statistics as well. Concert revenues have absolutely exploded, and that's the entire range of live music, from big concerts filling stadiums down to local gigs at the local pub. So people are spending as much on music, but much more of it goes to the people actually making the music, and much less to the record companies.
But I guess you would still be in favor of providing remuneration for the artists, right?
No, not if you talk about the government providing remuneration. I mean, that we do live in a market economy. I mean, musicians are musicians as long as they play. The minute they start, want to make money from it, they're entrepreneurs, which is also highly respectable, but it's a different thing. Entrepreneurs are themselves responsible for coming up with business ideas, implementing them in a way that makes sense. And I mean, yes, it is very, very difficult to be an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur myself, so I mean, I know this. It is difficult, not everybody can do it. But we as legislators shouldn't go around and suggest to entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs how they should make money. I mean, in the days when I was an entrepreneur, I always found that a complete waste of time to listen to politicians suggesting that.
Well, but a suggestion for politicians like Mr. Ekstrom, if they think that artists shouldn't be paid, maybe they should, lead by example and forego their remuneration as politicians and find, other means of supporting yourself. No, because
no, I'm saying that the government shouldn't pay the artists, and we don't live in a planned economy. But our responsibility is to make sure that it's possible for people to live from creating good stuff. And when we look at the statistics, we see that it is possible, because people are spending as much on music, less